Good evening, I'm Jane Pointer, host of AZ Illustrated Science. Tonight, we hear from two researchers who are using motion to help people maintain their health. Also, we tell you what scientists are learning about the healing power of Tai Chi and a newly discovered process for converting sulfur waste into usable, lightweight plastic. But first, a look at today's top news stories.
The Internal Revenue Service has finished an audit of the bonds issued by the Rio Nuevo district in 2002. The IRS looked at the $36 million worth of bonds used to purchase the Tucson Convention Center from the city of Tucson. The chair of the Rio Nuevo board told Arizona Public Media that the purpose of the audit was to ensure the district was using the money the way investors were promised it would be spent. He says the IRS issued a finding of no change, which means the tax-exempt status of the bonds remains the same. While the IRS investigation is now complete, officials with Rio Nuevo are still awaiting the outcome of an FBI investigation. A new poll shows nearly 70% of Arizona residents think it's time to replace Senator John McCain. The Rocky Mountain poll conducted by Phoenix-based Behavior Research Center also shows that 26% of Arizona residents think Senator McCain is either doing a good or excellent job, while 36% think he is doing poorly or very poorly. That's the lowest approval rating McCain has had in more than 2 decades. The president of the Behavior Research Center says the drop is the continuation of a years-long trend. And that's a look at tonight's headlines.
A stroke can be devastating. It can claim a person's ability to balance, move, and speak. But now, University of Arizona researchers, looking for ways to restore some of that lost function, are finding it in an unexpected source, Tai Chi. Gisela Tellis has the story.
Former dentist Max Schaefer thought he was aging in good health until one night changed everything.
Betty had gone to bed to read, and I was out by the TV kind of adjusting it in the middle of the room, and all of a sudden everything blacked out from the bottom, from halfway up the eyeballs down. It was black. So I fell on my knees because I might fall down, and then it just went away in about 30 seconds. That was the first one. And then over the next 2 weeks, I had 2 more. I don't remember exactly when, probably at night. They seem to occur at night. So I went to my physician, and he said, we've had 3 TIAs. That's a transient ischemic attack, and that means you're probably going to have a stroke.
He was put on blood-thinning medications, which are often prescribed to reduce stroke risk. But over the weeks that followed, Schaefer noticed that his ability to maintain his balance just wasn't the same. That's when he found out about an experiment underway at the University of Arizona that had the potential to help him. Dr. Ruth Taylor-Piliae, an assistant professor in the UA College of Nursing, was recruiting stroke and TIA survivors to study whether Tai Chi could help restore some of their lost balance and function.
I've been doing Tai Chi for several years, and my background is as a critical care nurse, so I worked in critical care with survivors of both heart attacks and stroke, and that's how I became interested in, working with stroke survivors. And then someone asked me to write a paper looking at using perhaps Tai Chi with stroke survivors. And when I was doing the literature search to see what has anybody done, there was only one little small pilot study that had been done that had looked at using Tai Chi in stroke survivors. And I thought, wow, this is a big gap in the research, and we need to do something.
Past studies of Tai Chi in healthy older adults have shown that this ancient Chinese martial art improves balance, blood pressure, and mood, 3 major trouble areas for stroke survivors. So Taylor-Pilliae designed a new study that would measure improvements directly in stroke survivors. She recruited 145 survivors who were split into 3 groups. 1/3 learned Tai Chi in small classes of 5 or 6 participants who met 3 times a week for 12 weeks. Another third enrolled in Silver Sneakers, a national fitness program for older adults. And the last third received what was termed usual care, which consisted of giving the participants a list of age-appropriate fitness classes and calling them weekly to check on them. As part of the Tai Chi group, Schaefer says he struggled at first.
At first, I noticed that when I had to make a quick turn to go in a different direction, that I had to watch it or I would tip.
Schaefer's difficulty isn't surprising, says Dr. Bruce Kuhl, a University of Arizona stroke neurologist who worked with Taylor-Pilliae on the study. When a stroke injures the brain, it most often causes paralysis, affected speech and vision, and an impaired sense of balance.
The human is designed to walk on two legs, and it takes an enormous amount of the nervous system to keep us upright. When people have certain kinds of impairments, get older or whatever, they tend to fall, and part of the reason for that is that not just orthopedics and muscles, but also your brain doesn't work as well as you get older, and so there's a tendency to fall because so much of the nervous system is spent keeping us upright. So if the system that is used for balance is affected, then people may stagger, they may become clumsy, or they may fall, and there's a lot of problems when you fall in terms of injuries and so on.
The researchers followed the stroke survivors for months after the study to see how they did. They measured how often the survivors fell and found impressive results.
The people that were in the Tai Chi group, that as a whole, they had about 1/3 the amount of falls than the people in the other two groups. So in the Tai Chi group, we had a total of 5 falls, and in Silver Sneakers there were 14, and in the usual care group 15. That's a huge difference in the number of falls.
But the survivors' improvements went well beyond numbers.
One of my stroke survivors was able to get his blood pressure under control just by doing Tai Chi. Another one was able to have the confidence to get in their car and drive out of state and go on a road trip, something they hadn't been able to do for several years.
For Max Schaefer, learning Tai Chi has been life-changing. It has improved his balance and mobility, controlled his high blood pressure, and given him a new sense of hope.
It makes you more relaxed and more confident that you're okay. It's no fun to get old and think every year it's going to get worse and worse, and I don't think that necessarily has to happen. To some degree it always will. You'll slowly get older, but you don't have to just let yourself fail, which is what most people do.
Taylor-Pilliae's work isn't done. She plans to pursue more studies of Tai Chi and stroke rehabilitation, and her stroke survivors aren't done with their work either.
Several of my stroke survivors have continued doing Tai Chi, and they've either are doing it on their own or they've joined an existing Tai Chi exercise class here in the community. And I think that is really kind of the goal with helping people reintegrate back into the mainstream society, to not feel like they're so different from everybody else, but to have sort of the physical ability, but also have the confidence to participate again as they used to before they had a stroke.
In his East Side living room, Schaefer still makes time every night for a Tai Chi session. He has no plans to give up his Tai Chi practice or the hard-won wellness it has brought him.
Tai Chi isn't the only form of motion that has scientists intrigued. Researchers who study our movements are developing new ways to preserve our health as we age. Here to explain are Dr. Jane Mohler, Associate Director of the Arizona Center on Aging, and Dr. Bijan Najafi, a UA Associate Professor of Surgery and Director of the Interdisciplinary Consortium on Advanced Motion Performance. So, you have brought in all of this great instrumentation in front of us. How does this go along with helping us move as we age? What are you trying to accomplish here?
Actually, probably first I can orient this question to Jane, because I'm an engineer, and as an engineer, definitely what I'm interested in is that how the people move through the world. But we try to orient answering this question based on what is the true need and what is the true application. So we have the opportunity to work in an interdisciplinary team that include of the team of a clinician, healthcare provider, as well as patients. And based on what the problem they define, we have a group of engineers that we try to formulate that what kind of the technology are the best suitable to address that question. After we design that technology and after we use in the context of clinical study to validate that concept.
And it's important to realize that how we move through the world or how we function is really what we're about as human beings. And as we age, sometimes our ability to function is decreased. It may be due to just aging, or may be due to different conditions that are associated with aging, such as stroke, heart disease, fall risk, a thing we call frailty, which is a clinical syndrome. And so by measuring this, these problems, we can really better understand how to intervene and if what we're doing is really effective.
And so what are various ones of these instruments measuring? Would you like pick a couple and tell us about them?
Exactly. For example, one of the questions that we have, and one of the colleagues came to us, is that they have an intervention based of Tai Chi for a stroke patient, and they would like to see that whether this intervention can reduce the risk of falling. And what we are interested in is not just risk of falling that we are assessing in clinic or based off the questionnaire. We would like to see that during activity of daily living, whether that intervention can reduce risk of falling. And this is one of the sensors that actually we designed, a sensor that can incorporate in a comfortable shirt, in the own shirt of the patient, and the patient wear that shirt. And this sensor can identify some of the parameters that indicator of the risk of falling. For example, how long it takes for rising from a chair, whether they can do easily this job or not, whether they can easily walk around their home, whether they can stand, they have a good sleeping, or many other parameters that we already studied that they are associated with risk of falling. And we can objectively measure these using this simple technique, but during activity of daily living.
I see. So you take then the data from this and help the patient? How does that work?
We have baseline data on these folks who've had strokes, and then have an intervention or have a control group, and then we follow them with this activity monitoring, and we see if we increase their activities of daily living, if they actually become more active, more stable, have better balance over time.
So you give them exercises or something to do, and then this monitors how those exercises and other interventions are effective, is that right?
Correct.
I see.
An outcome measure.
Exactly.
Yes.
I see. So it's not like you're using this to make people more active. You're measuring their level of activity or their risk of falling and all of that.
That's one of the interventions. However, these same devices can be used to actually cue people to be more active.
It's going to beep and say, get up now, or
well,
what?
it absolutely, we're working on a project right now in patients with mild cognitive impairment. And it's in a watch that really reminds them of, okay, it's now 2 o'clock in the afternoon, have you had water to drink? Have you had your walk? Have you taken your 3 o'clock medication? And gives them reminders, and if it doesn't indicate that they've indeed opened up their medication container, it gives them another reminder in another 15 to 20 minutes.
That's clever. So this is almost part of this personalized medicine move, isn't it?
Exactly. Actually, that was a great point that Jane mentioned. For example, we have the case that for our application, we have some agenda, electronic agenda, that notify us that now is the time to do this job. But sometimes we forget to do that, and we would like to remind us again. We have the same scenario for some older people, in particular those who may have some problem with cognitive problem. But the type of the reminder might be different. It might be dependent on the type of the activity that they are doing. As Jane mentioned, that whether they are eating their medication, whether they are drinking the water, etc., whether they take their appointment with the doctor. And we can make it smart. We can create a smart environment for the patient to facilitate them and give them this appointment. Another area that also we are working on is that it's not just asking them to be active, whether the activity also is safe for them, whether we can prevent some of the complications that are happening for the patient. For instance, imagine that we have a person who is a stroke survivor. He may have some numbness on one of the limbs, and that may cause gait asymmetry. That means that there is not balance of the loading on one side to other side. Like the automobile, that sometimes there is not perfect balance between two sides. And also we can measure that whether the quality of the activity is perfect, whether they need to have other intervention to have healthy activity.
Fascinating. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm sorry we need to leave it there.
Thank you.
Law enforcement officials say the surviving suspect in the Boston bombings has admitted he did play a role in the attacks, and they believe he and his brother acted alone.
We get the latest on the investigation, and the condition of Jahar Sarnaev upgraded today to fair.
Plus, Jeffrey Pyun examines the lessons learned for public safety officials about security at big events and gatherings.
Then a powerful Democrat, Montana's Max Baucus, is the 8th senator to say he won't seek re-election next year. We look at why Democrats are worried.
Fred DeSam Lazaro reports on gender bias in India, where many parents still opt for baby boys over girls.
The gap began to widen in the 90s with new ultrasound machines that made it easy to learn a fetus's sex. These scans have led to the termination of millions of female pregnancies.
And Margaret Warner talks with the author of a new book about shadow warfare waged by the CIA and special forces.
A week after 9/11, President Bush gave the CIA lethal authority to capture and kill al-Qaeda leaders. And so they become much more into the killing business and the military business.
That's all ahead on tonight's NewsHour.
Tell us what's lying around in your cupboard.
Apple cider vinegar, almond milk, and the dried red beans.
And we'll ask a famous chef how to cook them into a meal.
You could do a pretty well of a whole complete dish using your very strange and not entirely compatible trio of ingredients.
Nigella Lawson tells us how to cook your cupboard on the next morning edition from NPR News.
By now, we have all heard about the dangers of smoking and of secondhand smoke. However, the Centers for Disease Control estimates that more than 45 million adults in the United States smoke cigarettes. Researchers have gathered data for years on how best to get people to quit smoking, data that doctors and nurses often draw on to help their patients kick the habit. Now, a professor of family and community medicine at the University of Arizona is studying methods that complementary and alternative medicine providers can use to provide smoking cessation services to their clients. That researcher, Dr. Myra Muramoto, joins us now, along with massage therapist Tony Elwell, to explain Project REACH and how it's working. So, I think I have been under the illusion that cajoling people and telling them to quit smoking because it's really good for them really doesn't work. That's what your research finds out, right? So what does work?
That our research and other people have shown that scolding and confrontation and nagging doesn't help. But what does help, and most people actually try those methods first, what does help is being supportive, being able to offer factual information about where to get help, what sort of things have been shown scientifically to work to help someone quit, and being, more importantly, that supportive cheerleader, encouraging someone when they get discouraged. Quitting tobacco is a difficult thing. Cigarette addiction is very complicated, and it's hard, and people need help and encouragement.
And Project REACH doesn't actually work with the smokers. You work with individuals who then work. How does it work? Why don't you tell us how
Project
it works?
REACH actually began with another previous Project REACH, which taught anyone in the community who wanted to help someone quit smoking. And what we learned from that, we had some complementary alternative medicine practitioners, specifically a chiropractor, acupuncturist, massage therapist, come to us at the end of the study and said, this would be really helpful for our professions to learn how to do this and help our patients and clients. So that gave rise to this project.
Fantastic. So now you're a massage therapist. I understand you just completed the training. So how does this work? If I'm a smoker and I come and I get a massage from you, do you talk to me while I'm getting my massage?
Well, first of all, through this program, I learned that I needed to find out which of my clients are smokers if I'm going to help them. So I changed my intake form to ask the question, do you smoke? And so therefore, in the assessment period before the massage begins, I'm able to say, I see that you're a smoker. Have you ever tried to quit before? And if they say yes, then I can decide if I want to go forward with the conversation, if they're comfortable with it, and we can talk about how long they quit, what are the reasons maybe for quitting again. And now I've got access to pamphlets, different topics about smoking cessation, like a roadmap to quitting, the effects of second and third hand smoke, and even things like the body's inability to heal with a certain amount of tobacco in it.
Interesting. And this all goes on throughout the session when you work with people?
No, it's very timely. They've taught us to be very tactful in our approach and supportive. So they have taught me to always ask if it's okay to bring it up again at a later date, and to just be there supporting of my client and let them know that I'm a safe person they can talk to about it, and that I actually have resources for them in the community that they can go to.
Did you say second and third hand smoke? What is third hand smoke?
Maybe you'd like to answer this one?
You can answer.
This is great. What is it?
Third-hand smoke is the smoke that of the particles that fall on surfaces in a room or on your clothes. That's why someone can go into a room where there was a smoker hours ago and you can smell it, because that residual smoke is still around. And it's a new area of research, and we're just beginning to discover the possible impacts on health, and it's something that we're just starting to pay more attention to, so you may hear more about it in the future.
Wow, that's fascinating. So when I go into a room and it really stinks of smoke, it's not just that I can't stand the smell, it's that there's actually some
actual
effects.
chemicals there. Yeah,
wow.
some particles there.
And I think the research is pointing out that that can actually trigger a heart attack.
Holy cow.
Those nicotine is present, and then the chemicals react on surfaces to form other chemicals. They react with, say, what's in the carpet or on the surface of a table, and maybe even though they weren't originally cancer-causing chemicals, it can then subsequently become carcinogens.
Oh, wow.
So it's a new area of research, but we're finding that third-hand smoke is quite dangerous also.
So in the few seconds that we have left, family and friends, give them some advice. If there's one piece of advice you'd give us who have loved ones that are really struggling with quitting smoking, what would you say to them?
I would say learn how to be helpful. And there's resources actually through the Arizona Smokers Helpline and through us where you can learn how to be helpful without confrontation and without nagging.
And you? What piece of advice have you learned from this training that you've had that you would pass on?
That quitting cigarettes is really hard, and it's best for the general public not to be judgmental, but to be very helpful and supportive.
Thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sulfur is a byproduct of oil and natural gas refining. An international team of researchers has discovered a simple way of making that sulfur useful by turning it into lightweight plastic. Plastic that can be used for things such as batteries in electric cars. Researchers at the University of Arizona headed up that team. Joining me now in the studio is lead researcher Jeffrey Pyun from the UA Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry. So thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Jane, for having me. It's a great pleasure to finally be here. Great fan of the show.
Well, great. Thanks. So tell me something. There really is so much waste sulfur in the world that you focus your research on it?
Yes, so I would say, until about 3 years ago, I knew nothing about this kind of chemistry, nor about the issues related to sulfur. But as we started looking into this, I think it was surprising to me that there is so much sulfur in the world that we don't know what to do with it. Basically they have sulfur cities and building equivalents, and it's a real opportunity, especially as we live in this sort of modern age of sustainability, to think about what to do with garbage. So I guess what you could say is that I love and play with garbage.
Okay, so you take this garbage sulfur, big yellow piles of dust almost, and you turn it into plastic. Is that right?
Yes, perhaps I should explain by what I mean by my love for garbage. In this case, sulfur is actually the major byproduct from petroleum refining. And so you might remember acid rain. We used to talk about that in the 80s a lot. There were lots of kind of funny sitcoms about acid rain problems, green hair. We don't talk about that anymore. And the reason that we don't is because oil companies take out anything with sulfur, and they basically do that and have the byproduct be the sulfur mountains that we have now.
So how do you go from the sulfur mountain to plastic?
Right, so this is really where we needed to think of some new chemistry. And so this is where my group and a number of international collaborators from Germany, from Korea, we got our heads together and we thought about ways that we could actually use sulfur directly as a solvent. So we just melt it, put in one chemical, and got a very useful plastic. And so that incredible simplicity was really both an advantage and a technological sort of new avenue for us to think about.
And so what kind of uses are there for this plastic? I mean, is it any kind of plastic?
Right, so this is not going to replace traditional plastics like polypropylene, polystyrene, other things that are commonly made. This is unique in the sense of there are specific properties that are going to be useful, and one of them being making high-capacity batteries.
All right, so I don't know anything about batteries, so I'm trying to figure out how this sulfur makes, and plastic makes a battery. How does that work? Give us in lay terms, please, so a twit like me can understand it.
Well, twit like me as well, I guess. So basically, we live now in the age of sustainable energy and renewable energy and the need for having better kinds of energy systems. And specifically for things like electric cars, right? We really need to have lightweight, safe, high-capacity batteries. And so the kind of battery that we've been looking at that our particular plastic is useful for is known as a lithium-sulfur battery. So this is kind of what you consider a next-generation battery, Jane. And so this has a capacity 5 times higher than that of current lithium-ion batteries. But the problem is that if you cycle it, recharge it 40 or 100 times, it dies. So I don't know about you, I already hate my laptop as it is, right? And so if you imagine your car dying after 40 or 50 cycles, you'd go nuts, So this is where our particular plastic that we use could actually be a better and cheap component that could make this battery last longer.
But where does the sulfur come in? So in an earlier conversation, we were talking about the sulfur, and the sulfur is what actually is the sponge for the charge, is that right?
That's right.
So explain how that works. So.
So as the active material in the battery, it's going to actually be in one of the electrodes, and this is the part that's doing all of the what we call electrochemical action. So this is where, as a battery, you want to have a material that just sops up sponge, it's like a sponge for electrons, and is incredibly lightweight. So instead of having this enormous, sort of pack that the soldier has to carry in the field, it's this itty-bitty tiny thing. It has this oomph of charge. That's what you want, and that's in particular what our plastic is going to be useful for.
Right, and so the sulfur is what holds on to the charge, and then you put in carbon and other things that act as sort of the transport mechanism to get the charge in and out of the battery. I'm being way oversimplistic, but that's about right.
Exactly. Basically our polymer is doing more or less sulfur chemistry, and the consequence of that chemistry is electrons and ions that come in and electron ions that go out.
Well, that's really cool. So you've got these batteries, they're super lightweight. Electric cars is one of them. So I can take my motorbike and I can put on these really lightweight batteries, and now I can actually use these same batteries on my bike or anything else like that, right?
That's what we'd like to see the technology go for, and that's kind of where people have not looked at this kind of research for over 100 years.
And do we imagine that there's going to be overheating issues with these batteries like others, or does that have nothing to do with the sulfur or anything else in it?
That's incredibly relevant, and this is where, what we're doing right now is developing the fundamental science, and this is where partnerships with industries and other types of sort of engineering experts in the field will be absolutely critical to make sure that these are safe, reliable systems.
Well, good luck. This is fascinating. Look forward to seeing how the research goes.
Well, thank you. Thanks for this great opportunity to talk about what we're doing.
That's our show. You can watch any of these segments again or give us some feedback on the program by going to azpm.org. I'm Jane Pointer. Thanks for joining us.